Bernard Darwin could see the change in Hagen as he observed him in the practice rounds and exhibitions that led up to the Open. This was not the brash British Open rookie of 1920, but a seasoned professional, exuding more confidence as he prepared to compete. Darwin wrote, "His demeanour towards them, though entirely correct, had yet a certain suppressed truculence. He exhibited so supreme a confidence that they could not get it out of their minds who could not live against it. They felt him to be a killer and could not resist being killed." Darwin also saw this Open as a pivotal one, the outcome of which could very well demonstrate if British golf would be the standard by which other countries would continue to judge their game. During the qualifying rounds, Hagen and Joe Kirkwood tied for first at 147 strokes, but Hagen certainly didn't start the Open itself with the same brilliance, despite his typically flamboyant appearance in a light brown jersey, grey knickerbockers and black and white shoes. His first round score was a pedestrian 76, in relatively calm conditions, leaving him 3 strokes behind the English greats of Ted Ray and J.H. Taylor. Hagen began the tournament overtired, having been up too late the night before. He and a few other visiting Americans had been involved in a high-stakes putting competition on the carpet of the hotel lounge until 2 a.m. Despite several reminders from his fellow countrymen of the late hour, Hagen simply responded that whilst his opponents may be in bed, they certainly weren't sleeping. In 1922, the Open Championship was played over 2 days, each day consisting of an attritional 36 holes. On that first day, during the second round, the wind had picked up. While many of the players faltered, Hagen shot a remarkable 73, successfully dealing with the wind and the weather conditions, causing havoc for many, beating the Brits at their own game. By the end of the first day, and after 2 rounds, Hagen's 36-hole total of 149 was actually good enough to be in first by 2 strokes over Taylor, Jim Barnes and George Duncan. With inclement weather forecast for the following day, "Golf Championship in Danger" was the headline the following morning in the Times of London, and there was little mention that the American Bon Bevere was mounting his challenge. Hagen's bloated 79 in the third round would normally have spelled doom for anyone in a major championship. He avoided 80 or more thanks to several stunning recovery shots, but the golfing gods were with Hagen that day. Conditions were so difficult that Friday was relentless with wind and rain that few other players were able to gain ground or run away with the championship. The defending champion, the gusty Jock Hutchinson, had worked himself into first at 226 strokes with a stunning 73. Barnes ballooned to a 77 and was 2 strokes back of Hutch, and Britain's Charles Whitcomb, perhaps having more experience in such conditions, had notched up a 72 and was at 228, tied with Hagen and Barnes. That final round, with the blustery and damp conditions still a factor, was more a matter of endurance than brilliant shot making. Inclement conditions and fatigue conspired to weigh down the 51-year-old Taylor, and his 77 in the final round cost him his last miraculous Open Championship, eventually losing by 4 strokes. Hutchinson's valiant attempt to defend the claret jug came undone with a final round 76. The Frenchman, Jean Gasset's 79, also fell short of their country's hope of securing their second Open Championship, and Charles Whitcomb's 75 was also insufficient. Barnes went out early that final round and shot a miraculous 73, which included a 6 on the 247-yard third hole. Given the tough conditions, his 301 total looked to be enough for a homegrown champion to lift the claret jug, but up stepped Walter Hagen. Hagen's 72 that day was grittily earned. It was survival of the fittest, and he watched the rest of the field fade away, having paid a runner in the crowd to give him regular updates on Hutchinson's round. Hagen realised persevering and avoiding disaster might just be enough. Hagen launched a laser-like drive that came to rest 6 feet from the pin on 16, making a regulation par, followed by another on 17. Hagen bogeyed 18 into the teeth of the wind, leaving him 1 stroke ahead of Jim Barnes at 300, with the championship looking all but secure. Knowing how Hagen had finished prompted George Duncan, the winner of the 1920 Open Championship, to play without caution, ignoring the 81 he notched up in the morning round and the fact he needed a near impossible 68 to tie. The Scotsman played fearlessly. No one had ever broken 70 in an Open at Royal St George's, but Duncan was intent on not just breaking 70, but doing it by 3 strokes for victory. A birdie at 16 and a par at 17 meant another birdie 3 on the home hole would ensure the claret jug would reside in Great Britain. Hagen nervously paced and smoked on the sidelines, acutely aware of the significance of this moment. Journalists reported how it was as much as he could do to contain himself, such was his anxiety. Duncan's shot on the 18th landed short left of the green, with Hagen fearing an inevitable playoff, something which would almost certainly mean missing his boat home to America. Then, Duncan faltered. A lacklustre chip preceded a failed putt for par, and Hagen had won. Hagen's hands were trembling, and he went out to commiserate with Duncan. Such was the intensity of the final round. Hagen made a gracious speech, accepting the claret jug with aplomb, and he took the first place check, worth roughly $500, and handed it straight over to his caddy. Finally, a native-born American had won the British Open, and the golf world had tilted on its axis. Darwin lamented that from this point on, the Open Trophy made the journey across the Atlantic with monotonous regularity. Herbert Warren Wind would write, Hagen was homebred, as American as apple pie. Walter's breakthrough at Sandwich, in the mind of both the American and the British public, signalled success at last for the American invasion of the island where golf was born. For that day, on the 23rd of June 1922, had marked the changing of an era in the professional game.